Aloha everybody, this is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on YouTube, episode 162. Thank you guys for liking these episodes on this podcast, also subscribing and following the podcast and telling your friends and family. Let's make this a very, very big podcast, popular podcast. And also, if you feel like it, you can make a small donation on my Spotify podcast, Tiggy Maximus Talks. There's a link on each of those episodes where you can make a small donation, and anything is appreciated, guys. So on this episode, I want to talk about really three things actually. I went to 5 comedy shows. I know, very, very, kind of burned out on comedy, but, you never quit. There's always some good shows to watch. Always a good way to kind of publicize a lot of these comedy shows. Great producers, great comics, all through San Diego, especially comics that come from out of town. And I did go to this one comedy show at the Mic Drop Comedy Club in Claremont Mesa Boulevard. Rui Montilla, one of the best ones in San Diego. He got to headline his own show at the Gold Room at the Mic Drop. That was already like an amazing show in itself. Then Saturday night, the 24th, we got 2 shows. One was Comedy Heights in Adams Avenue in Normal Heights, produced by Gavi. That one's a good show to go to. Then that one had Gina Manning as the headliner, and then later on at the Mic Drop on Saturday night, you got a show called Muy Funny, produced by Leo Saavedra. So you had a great lineup of comics for that one at the Mic Drop and Comedy Club, Claremont Mesa Boulevard. And then we got 2 great shows on Sunday, February 25th. That one was basically Major Malfunction. That one was produced by Cheryl Sonstein. It's her first show ever. So what's amazing was that she had a big lineup of comics for that one. Some of the who's who in San Diego. And then the nightcap, Laugh Factory, they had a show with Walter Ford. He produced a show. Great lineup of comics. His headliner was Kevin Tate. So stay tuned, guys, for those 5 shows. I also want to talk about the UFC 298. Great main card. Also an amazing featured prelim fight. Your main event basically was Volkanovski defending his featherweight championship against Ilia Topuria. So that was a good card. And I also got to catch WWE's premium live event, the Elimination Chamber, coming from Perth, Australia. So those were some awesome events to watch, on top of watching some good comedy. So stay tuned, guys, and listen to me talk about all those shows. So the first show, I was really wanting to go to this one because Rui Montilla, I got to see a lot of his shows here in San Diego and also one up in LA for the Don't Tell comedy. And honestly, the guy's done pretty well at almost every single show he's been at. And, you know, it's just really great seeing him do his own headlining show. And honestly, I'm glad I went to this show because I guess maybe this is his first headliner at the Gold Room, much less the headliner at the Mic Drop. So there were a total of 3 comics on this one. You get your host, Lucey Love. Always great to hear her perform. Then you also have the one and only Kylie Troop. So to have Lucey start off the show, and I guess your opener was going to be Kylie, and then you got your headliner with Rui. So I've seen pretty much these 3 quite a bit, and most times, or almost every time, I actually never really had a bad experience with any of their sets. So I'm pretty glad that they got to work together and they were on the same show. And it's always a treat for the crowd when you have these 3 together. And I remember Lucy was talking about how her kid was saying that she was very boring as a mom. And Lucy took offense to it mainly because, how can she be boring? She says she did anal without lube. And then she talked about, um, you know, uh, she talked about some dating and stuff, and then having a baby at the young age of, what was it, 18 or 19? So, I guess that was called a geriatric pregnancy, I guess is what they call it. And I mean, I suppose that, you know, having Uh, having kids at the end of your teenage years and right at the start of your adult life, I guess maybe it was somewhat of a common thing, kind of a common thing when it comes to Latino culture, I guess. So, and I like the fact that Lucy kind of played off on that. So, crowd liked her a lot in that gold room. Honestly, I could tell that she works on her stuff a lot more than some others. Her delivery, timing, it was always great. And the crowd liked her a lot, so I kind of give her a 8.75 out of 10. Great job, Lucy. Then we got to see Kylie Troop. I've seen her quite a bit, seen her so many times. First time seeing her at the Comedy Store. They kept seeing her name around. Um, then it's kind of great to get to know not only Kylie, because I actually really got to talk to her at Cash Comedy Show. It was at the Above Ash Social, where it was like 10 stories up. You can see downtown San Diego on Ash Street. And ever since I got to talk to her since that night, going to a lot of her shows. She produced a show with Natasha Collier, the Big Cheese. So, which by the way, I actually have to kind of look into that to see when the next one is. I guess it's more of a weekly show now on Wednesday night, so that should be awesome. Um, yeah, Kylie, she talked about, um, she got to talk about, um, how uh, guy on the street was just kept saying to her $9, $9, that she replied back to this homeless man in the streets, pointing to herself, $20, $20, because she values herself. It was always funny. She talked about her IUD, how the doctor said it was hard to find it, and she then explained about the IUD, how she can't get pregnant, and it's kind of like having Dikembe Mutombo down there blocking shots, saying no, 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 and the finger wag. So that's always cool, and a lot of stuff that she was putting out there for her set, I liked her so much. Again, she also has great delivery, great timing. The jokes really hit with this crowd. I would say she was 9 out of 10. So then we got our headliner, Rui Montilla, and you know, he was doing pretty great. And honestly, you know, I've seen him quite a few times. Of all the times I've rated him, like, I don't think I've ever really gone lower than, like, I don't know, like an 8.5 or something. And this time I would have to say that when he talked about, you know, growing up, the music he was watching and listening to, like the music videos and music, listening and watching those music videos, and then talking about the VMAs, and then heard this one song. The song was, I think it was I Will Be Missing You, and I guess Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, he did either a cover of the song, and Rui's dad pointed out that Sting, the singer, came out to the song I Will Be Missing You. And then, since Rui was a kid, he was thinking Sting the wrestler. And of course, you know, I'm a big fan of wrestling. When I heard Sting, I'm thinking Sting the wrestler with the face paint and everything. So, yeah. Rui talked about that. Rui also talked about, you know, how you're not supposed to meet your great grandmother, because, you know, it's like you have to be really old. But I guess when you have kids early in each generation, I guess it's possible to have a great grandmother. And he mentioned how the only times that you would ever talk about a great grandmother is you have to go back to the really thick photo albums, or pull out like a negative from a picture strip, and then you get to tell a story about your great grandmother, even though it's the size of a thumb in the negative, when you're trying to describe what's happening inside the picture inside the negative. So anywho, that was pretty funny. Rui also talked about how when he went to school, he put away certain colors, red and blue, Crips and Bloods. So he talked about being from the neighborhood, his old neighborhood. Talked about how he grew up. So, and then he talked about dating too. But overall, talked about family. And then, you know, Rui ended up talking for basically an hour as a headliner. So that's actually pretty good to have that an hour worth of material. So I would say for the most part, he did super well. A lot of the stuff that he said as jokes and storytelling, crowd in the Gold Room liked it a lot. wasn't too much time that went by before he got like an ovation of laughter, a roar of laughter for most of the stuff that he was saying. So Rui, I gotta say 9.5 for his comedy. Good lineup with Kylie, Lucey, and Rui. So I'm glad that he got to headline the Gold Room. Might mean he might get a bigger room, the main room, and who knows, he might be touring countrywide, worldwide, with bigger audiences, and the future is pretty bright for him. So overall, I had a good time at that show, and I went with my buddy Luis Alvarado. Thanks for the ticket, man. Initially, I thought because it sold out, I thought I had to go to the second show at 10 o'clock, but that extra ticket from Luis Alvarado, I got to go at 7:30 when he was going to put out his 1 hour, and I got to see it before everybody else did, so like the 10 o'clock crowd. So I got to watch it with the 7:30 crowd. So gotta say, I got the cheesecake. It's pretty good. It was like the Alaska cheesecake, and if you ever got that, that's from the special menu, and the special menu means that you get a free beanie with the Mic Drop logo on it, and you also get free tickets to a future show. So that was the show on Friday, February 23rd. I did go to this place called Comedy Heights inside Lestat's Coffee, and that was the first time ever I've been there. I keep seeing flyers for it, and it is actually produced by the one and only Al Gavi. So Al Gavi had Rachel Lloyd host his show, and if you paid the $5 cover, that $5 becomes a credit at the coffee shop next door. But you have to do it same day. Technically, I didn't get to do it because I was in a rush, because I had to go to another comedy show after this show. But I want to talk about the show. Rachel started off, talked about being athletic, she talked about some kind of math problems, and then she talked about how to, I guess, make a friend or how to meet people and stuff. And she said that there was a way that she would automatically make someone feel uncomfortable if she did it on purpose. And she, it was either that or her therapist says that you should smile more. But when she tried it on an actual person, all she could do was stare and smile at another person, following either this book she read or doctor's orders. Don't remember exactly, but overall, I would say that she was an 8.4 out of 10 for her comedy that night. It's a really nice venue. Next person that went up was Al Gavi. Al was pretty funny. Talked about going to Vegas, but now that he's older, it's different how you tell your friends about bragging on what you did when you were in your 20s and 30s. You mentioned how, I'm so tired. I went to all these clubs. I woke up next to a blonde. I hope I didn't pay for that because, they're expensive. Now that he's in his 40s, now it changes. Oh man, I went to all these buffets, not clubs, and I woke up next to a ham sandwich, but I hope I didn't order this because hotel food is expensive. So I remember that. He talked about some other stuff too. I think he talked about kids and family. So overall, I would say Al Gavi was a 9.3 out of 10 for all the stuff that he said. Crowd liked him a lot. I'm glad I went to this one. Got to see his show. So next person that went up was Melissa Wiseman. Haven't seen her for a while, but I got to see her live. She's living in Los Angeles, killing it up there. I'm glad she still remembers me. So she had a good 10-15 minutes or something. Did pretty well. She talked about the guy she met in Korea because she likes to travel. She talked about breast milk and liking it so much that she actually, I guess, sucked her breast or tit or something. So I got a lot of laughs. I like how most of the stuff that she said, a lot of people laughed a lot during most of her 10-15 minutes. So she did pretty well. I'm glad that she worked on her stuff. Gotta say that she was 8.75 for her comedy. Next person that went up was Andrew Parker Davis. Guy came up with his index cards. Some of the stuff was pretty funny. Crowd liked it a lot. It got more funny as he went on with those index cards. He talked about taking melatonin, but he thought that it would darken his skin. That became a funny bit. And he talked about, I want somebody to roast me up here. I've been practicing my comebacks. Just yell anything out, insult me, however. And then he just says like the words like, I think it was like, I don't know, like fuck you or something. Or I don't know, something like that. So he did it a couple of times. I don't know, I was trying to think of something to yell out, but I couldn't think of anything to roast him. Guy's a pretty nice guy though. I would say overall Andrew was an 8.6 out of 10 for his comedy. Now the next person that went up, first time seeing this guy, Sam Skolnick. From what he said, he wanted people to say out names of who people think that looks like him, and I guess somebody had said the Hobbit. I guess his name was something Hincliffe. Dan Hincliffe. That's Frodo from The Hobbit. Part of me was thinking that he kind of looked like Orlando Bloom from far away, but somebody else in the crowd had said he looked like Timberland, the one who works with Justin Timberlake. And then I guess that kind of gave a good start to his comedy set, and it set the vibe for the rest of his I don't know, like 20-25 minutes or something. So he was pretty funny. Crowd liked him a lot. It got funnier as his comedy set went on. I gotta say that he was an 8.9 out of 10. And then the headliner was Gina Manning. First time seeing her. I guess she's a teacher or something. And she kept talking about dating, how this is past her bedtime or her time to sleep curfew. She also talked about how she has her own, not only her own kids, but then she has students because she's a teacher. And then she had talked about how she needs to take either some pills to stay awake or something, because she has a date to go get some food later on after the show. But yeah, she talked about her stuff in the past. She remembered stuff like older songs, and she actually did a song and she performed it, and then she ended up on her back on the stage with her feet up in the air and asking the cameraman to take some photos of her laying on her back while singing. So she was pretty funny though. Crowd liked her a lot. I liked her set. I would say she was an 8.8 out of 10. But yeah, it was a lot of fun stuff though. So that was that for that show. Got to talk to Bob Hansen after the show with Andrew Parker Davis. Got to say a little, just a short thing with Gina Manning. Got to talk to Sam Skolnick when I was talking with Melissa Wiseman. So I also got to talk to Al Gavi. So I got to talk to quite a few people. And then got some pictures. Got a picture of the whole group there too. That's awesome because I always, would at least want that as a minimum. That's to get one photo. I was planning to take a photo of every single comic who went up, but then like Rachel Lloyd had mentioned during the instructions after the open mic portion that no photos are or videos. So that's why I pulled my phone back and I didn't take any more photos after Rachel was up there. So other than that, great show. I liked it a lot. I would actually go back. It's great because it's right next to the Adams Avenue Theater where there's comedy there every month, especially for Abnormal Nights comedy with Alex Petit. And then there's that great Asian fusion place, Vietnamese food and Japanese food at Dao Fu right across the street. I recommend it. Go to that theater, go to that coffee place, go to that Asian fusion place. Adams Avenue does have some good stuff, and that's a good strip to be at. Have some good food, good coffee, and watch some good comedy out there. So next thing I want to talk about, I had to rush over to the mic drop. I did talk to Christy Matsutani and Melissa Wiseman after the show, and then after hanging out with them for a little bit, I actually gave them both a ride actually to downtown, and then from downtown I ended up driving all the way to the mic drop in Clever Mesa Boulevard, trying to catch the Muy Funny show hosted by Leo Saavedra. He put on a great show. I did come a little bit late, so I wasn't sure who came before Aaron Gonzalez, but starting from Aaron Gonzalez, she talked about her outfit, her figure, Dayton, and then I sat in the front, so I know she saw me, but she didn't point me out or anything. Only one other comic did. That was the headliner. Other than that, Aaron Gonzalez did pretty well with the crowd. Crowd was laughing at some parts, and they were chilled at some other parts. I would say overall she was an 8 out of 10. Then there was Leo himself. Since he was hosting, I didn't hear much about his jokes. He did talk about, living a life with raising kids, and then he talked about, wants to make his mother proud, wants her to know that he's doing pretty well with comedy, so spread the word to his mom that his show went well. He even took a selfie and a video with all the comics and with all the crowd members in the back, including myself. But overall, joke-wise, I thought he was okay. I would say he's a 7.5 out of 10 for his comedy. The next person after Aaron was my first time seeing this guy, Guy Murray. Guy talked about how he could speak a little bit of Spanish. He's actually a little bit fluent, actually. And then he had a lot of fun stuff to say. Overall, I think the crowd liked him. I think he talked about Dayton, and I think he must have had a kid, maybe. but he talked about dating life too. So I would say 8.4 for Guy Murray. Cool guy. Next person that went up, his name was Cedro. First time seeing him. Guy was pretty loud, and because I was in the front row, I could obviously hear it. But guy was pretty funny though. Talked about Latino families. Other than that, I think the crowd liked him. He had some really good stuff. I would say Cedro was an 8.6 out of 10. Cool guy. Now the one who had like the loudest crowd members, because he brought all of his coworkers, by the name of Louis Valdivia, and you know, he did pretty well. I gotta say, he had some good jokes. Talked about work. Talked about how, well, since all of his coworkers are there and he's there, he's wondering who's covering at the hospital. I think he said he worked at a hospital, Scripps. So it was pretty cool though, and it was really cool. And you know, I can't wait to see more of his comedy stuff. So he did pretty well, and I think that you know, I can't wait to see more of him down the road. I would say with his comedy and the great ovation from his own crowd members, 8.7 out of 10. And then we got to the headliner, Gadiel Del Orbe. Now, the funny thing about this is that I actually met this guy before, and I met him in Temecula for Dick Salas comedy show at Bastards Canteen. That had Rachel Lee on the show, Steph Turan on the show, Corey Baldwin on the show, and that's how I met Gadiel Del Orbe. And you know what? I think he headlined that show too. Cool guy, because the reason why I think I met him before is because he had a joke. So he talked about family, growing up, growing from, you know, in a Latino family, but he's also mixed. But he talked about this one thing where I knew who he was before because it triggered my mind because I heard the joke before, and it turns out I met him before. So that's how I remembered him from Temecula. Now, he did point me out because I was in the front row, and I told him, you know, I was hugging the chair next to me, and I just told him, you know, I was coming from a comedy show, so I looked pretty sad, but I was actually looking pretty tired, actually, because I've been to so many comedy shows. But other than that, yeah, he talked about some other stuff. Dating, who's dating now, dating before, and then we had a good back and forth thing going on. I told him that I worked, I have a podcast, I work in a laboratory, and then he did some other crowd work, which he did pretty well with the crowd work, and he got a lot of laughter for his jokes and his crowd work. So I would say he was 9 out of 10 for his comedy. I'm glad I got to see him again. He was funnier back then. He was funnier now, or at the show. So it was kind of cool talking to him, catching up, and he gave me a free shirt. That was pretty cool of him. He announced it in front of the crowd, and he gave it to me when I went up to him and talked to him, catching up on old times. I was trying to tell him that we met before, but I thought it was in the Mic Drop Gold Room, but it was actually in Temecula. So, well, guys, I'm gonna talk about the Sunday comedy show. I did go up to the Laugh Factory after going to the Mic Drop again. Mic Drop was Major Malfunction with Cheryl Sonstein, and the Laugh Factory was with Walter Ford. So